Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. Hello, mommy.
Hi.
I'm finally taking over. I know I've been on sabbatical. You haven't seen a whole lot of this face.
Yeah.
But I'm back with a bang, and just to show you the intensity, that I'm coming with. I thought I would lead this. Is it a vlog? What do you call this?
Okay, I don't know. What are we guys? I have no
sit.
idea what we're talking about today.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on.
So this is more of a sit down. You do know, so I'll tell you how. I think one of the things that made me to actually talk about this was we've been having this discussion, and I'm reading this very fantastic book. So it just propelled me to say I think this is one of the. It's not really controversial. Especially if we just get to be honest with ourselves. So the topic is around black on black hate, and if you look if you look at that topic, you realize that there are fundamental issues that we need to work on ourselves as a society or as
the black community,
as the black community, because I think we've like literally spoken about this.
Spoken about this for years.
Yeah, because umuntu omnyama, there's even a song. Umuntu omnyama akafuna ukubona umuntu omnyama ayaphambili.
Yeah.
I don't know. You wanna start, baby?
Maybe you can tackle it in a way, Yoguti, in which sphere of black on black hate you wanna focus on.
I think for me, there are two spheres that I'll focus on, or maybe three. One is the corporate life. One. The second one is the business, since I've been in that fraternity as well, or I am in that fraternity. And then the third one is just generally. I think I want to group it in those three baskets, because even with myself, when I reflect on my corporate life, I think for me to get ahead, sadly, in most cases, it has always been someone from another racial group to say this young man
propelling you forward.
To say this young man is talented, we should give them more opportunities. Whereas most of my black peers in senior positions, I think the only thing that they loved is it's
that I'm the only black person in that room, and that's really messed up if you really think about it. And at the end of the day, we come back and we preach, no guys, we need to look out for each other, we need to help each other. But the matter of fact is, as black people, we hate each other so much. We love I'm the only one who is able to do this.
Who's at the
I'm
top?
the only one who associates with those people. While those people themselves will make sure their own racial group is filled or is filling those spaces. That's when you are just happy with you are the only one who's filling them.
Exactly, babe. And it also brings me to this phenomenon woman who's now the leader at is it Morgan Chase? Yeah, I think, or Morgan Stanley, Kamala Harris. And she makes a very important point in one of her speeches to say, we know if you look at corporate companies especially, or if you look at most sectors, you'd find a very, I would say, identical genetic makeup in the sense that you find all the other racial groups at the bottom, then there's always one or two racial groups at the top. But she goes on to say, if you, as one of those people who have minimal representation at the top, you get into the top, there's one thing that you should never do, is to hold your voice. You should be vocal, number one, challenge the status quo. Because there's this thing to say, when people are sitting at the top, they don't really, because they are too disconnected to the reality on the ground, they don't really relate. But if you're there, you know the ground, you know what's happening. Be vocal, be racial, challenge everything. And she also makes this point to say, so they call it the round table because that's where they discuss the talent in the organization to say, and then they package it into three buckets to say these are high performers, we should prep them for promotions, these ones are just middle people, we're not sure, then they are like low performers. And she says, so they were discussing this one name of this particular individual, and most of the people were like, no, this person is not ready, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, if you say this person is not ready, what have you done to test that person? And she was like, after asking that question, everyone in the room just went blank. And they sat, and she was just like, exactly.
And that's the whole point of making your voice heard once you reach those particular spaces.
Exactly. She's like, sometimes you don't need to say much or comment much, ask the right questions. Because at that point, when she asked that question, they looked at themselves and were like, okay, what have we done really? Because most of their comments were based on emotions and based on those 5 minutes discussion they had with that guy.
I totally agree, and I totally get that. And I think moving on to maybe the business world, how has the black on black kind of relationships affected you in terms of the business space?
I think before I move on, just to make one point on the corporate side, is to say, if you're in a corporate leadership position as a manager, as a director, the question I'm asking you is, how many black people are you mentoring? How many junior black person are you actually mentoring to say within the team, these are the 2 people, should I leave, get promoted, or leave the company? I know they were quite competent to take over and so on. So I think we should move away from this space of just being self-glorified to say, I'm the only black person here, but we should change the discussion rather to say, who else am I empowering? That's number one.
So they can also occupy this space that I'm occupying later on in life.
Exactly. Yeah. And then coming into the business space, I think the business space for me is quite emotional, because I've walked the journey, and it was
a rough journey, guys.
Not really rough. Eh?
Baby, it was rough.
Okay.
There was a time that they were sleeping on the streets. Okay.
Not on the streets.
It was
in the
that
office.
rough.
How? In the office.
Baby, what? There was a night when y'all were kicked out of that office and y'all went to sleep at the beach.
Hey,
it was rough.
Oh, baby, putting me on the spot, so I need to explain, guys.
It was rough.
So, guys, I think those who are also in the trenches know, to say when you're an entrepreneur and you're starting up, most of your resources need to go into the business, so you can't really be paying accommodation and all those things. So in those times, coming to your point, in those times, we made a conscious decision to say, we'll sleep in the office. So unfortunately, because we're in the city and these zoning issues to say you can't use your office as a residential area. One of those nights we actually got into trouble with the building management because we were alerted to say that these guys which are actually sleeping in their office, blah blah blah. Then so some, I think it was Metro Police came, they knocked. They were like, what are you doing? I think it was around 8ish. So it was around 8 at night, and we're like, no, we're working, but we are almost done. So we're like, oh, okay, we'll come back at a later stage to check. So when that happened, we discussed, we say, hey guys, it's getting rough, and at that time we couldn't go anywhere else. So like, okay, it's fine. This is more of, we'll treat this as executive entertainment day, so we just decided to go to the beach. We created a bonfire there and we spent the night there just chatting and just
okay, baby, this video is gonna be too long.
Okay, I need to move, baby. Okay, so coming back, I think for me, again, I'll also take this to the book that I'm reading, which is Betting on a Darkie by Tetonyati. So one of the key things I think that he makes in the business fraternity is that as a business leader, you are more likely to be frustrated by your own racial groups. And he goes on to make this point to say when he was chosen to be the CEO of MTN, when he got to the board, there were a few black people, and within his own executive management, there were a few black people, But one thing that was common was whenever a decision was taken, and as a CEO he had to lead, the people who were backstabbing him, and trying to, I would say, expose him, were his own fellow black executives, So I think it goes back to the point to say, even though we're not looking out for ourselves. And I wanted to make this point, to say, because, when you're still starting out in business, you hustle, guys. You go everywhere. And I think one of the jokes that we even made with my co-founders is security guards are a headache. And I'll make a typical example, because there was this time we wanted to go to a municipal office to meet this certain lady within their innovation space. We had an appointment, so we got there. And when we get there, the security starts asking us all these types of questions. Where are you going? Does this person know? You need to call them. They need to fetch you. Blah, blah, blah. On that same incident, a white guy just comes. They're like, hi, say, how are you? Where are you going? I'm like, I'm going there. They're like, oh, okay. He passes.
It's literally the same thing that everybody always complains about on social media. Even when simple things such as going to a grocery store, and when you're paying by the till, you find that when a black cashier is assisting a white person, they are all friendly, madam. You know, how can I help you? Like, like the tone on itself is different as to when they speak to other racial counterparts as to when they speak to us.
Yeah.
And it's why? Like, I fail to understand how we got to that level. Why do we hate each other so much? Why do we feel that we need to give each other a hard time all the time? I don't understand it.
I really don't know as well. Yeah, it's quite disheartening. But I think as we start to confront these issues, to talk more about them, and
we do need to talk about them, hey?
And after talking, most importantly, acting on them. You know, to say, should I get at a position of power?
I will not do the same.
Empower the young and upcoming youngsters to say, young man, here's an opportunity. Prove me right. Because the other one thing which Teto also mentions in his book was when he got to Afrox after graduating, he was the first black engineer there, you know. And everyone who was beneath him, like the operators, were like, Mfethu, don't mess this opportunity up, because if you mess it up, they'll be like, those black people, now you see why we didn't want them. So when you get into, I think that's a responsibility, you know, to say, don't just ask for opportunities, but when you get those opportunities, be true and show them black excellence, you know, to say, when the next time or when the next opportunity comes, you know, they're like, we've seen this and that, you know. And even when they're recruiting candidates, you know, if it's a black person, they're like, hey, this person reminds me of so and so, you know, this. Not when it's a black person, they're like, do you remember Tshepo?
Headache.
Yeah, something like that.
But I think really what really touches me the most is the way I've seen your growth in corporate. And as he said before, the way he has grown in corporate, it has been fueled, guys. It has been fueled mostly by people of our counterpart racial groups. It was not our own. He was not being looked after by our own. But we always discuss that, like, as he is growing at the rate that he's growing, he needs to ensure that sphere of looking at things kind of changes with him. Since yes, they did him well, they brought him up, but he also needs to change the prerogative and say, I'm also gonna take my own racial group, my own kind of people up with me. But of course, you cannot just, because that's another thing. Hey, people nowadays just wanna ride on the I'm black wave. So that means if I'm starting a business, you should just support me because I'm black.
And then they give you a very shitty service.
If I'm joining your company, you should just look out for me because I'm black. It's not about that. If you find a Tshepo in your company who has kind of made it, you need to also make sure that you work as hard so that when Tshepo goes into those rooms and he mentions your name, those people will say, oh yeah, hey, no, you're right. Actually, this person, I've seen him do this and that. Because Tshepo cannot go into that room and be like, I'm mentioning Gugu.
Guys, battery issues, but we're back.
So I was just saying that because Tshepo cannot go into that room and mention Gugu's name. At the end of the day, Gugu is someone who's always showing up to work late. Gugu never submits any assignments or projects that is given to her on time. You can't be that person. So ensure that for your name to be mentioned in the correct rooms by the correct people, you also just work as hard as you can so that happens for you.
High five. I think should we wrap it here?
Yeah, but I know this is a very controversial topic, but I would love to hear what you guys think about it in the comments, or how this black on black hate / love type of relationship has affected you in your own time, whether it's your business, whether it's where you work. Would really love to hear how you have lived with it.
Yeah, and just a disclaimer, there are some good brothers and sisters who are doing great in this department of empowering others. this is not directed to you, because I know some people are super sensitive. They might just, generalize this whole thing. But we know you, we see you in those corners. This is an appreciation segment.
And we are just saying everybody should be like you. If you are one of those people who's looking out for their own, literally we should all strive to be like those people. We should always look out for our own. If you see that your brother, your sister is being dragged on the floor, try by all means to lift them up, because if we succeed together, that means we are all going to be very far as a racial group, and also taking our country further as well, than having to always be pounding each other down.
I think one last issue that I just want to mention is, whilst we say there should be a certain element of this black empowerment and everything, blah blah blah, it doesn't mean at the expense of everything, and to your point, baby, to say just because I want to empower black people, I now take mediocre people. If there's a white person who's doing a great job, if there's an Indian person who's doing a great job,
I take them.
Person, like, hey, young man, come here, let's go. So
exactly.
I think it's
you
also,
can't just be, because I'm black.
It's also a responsibility to say, bring your A game to wherever you are.
Yeah.
And then that recognition will come later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said.
I think that's it for me. This is now your channel, so I'm being the guest again.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for watching this video again. I would like to hear your opinions on it, as I've said before. But we'll see you guys on the next one. I love you all.
I might not be here though.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.